To North Halton now, where this year marks the 200th anniversary of the site of a series of historic buildings in Halton Hills. It's also the 40th anniversary for the current owner of the Williams Mill. Some of the original architecture has been preserved and can still be seen both inside and out, alongside some modern amenities, ensuring the space remains a vibrant part of Glen Williams.
It feeds my soul, it feeds my spirit and my creativity.
Passion for this historic structure from one of about 30 artists who called the Williams Mill home for their creative endeavors. Pauline Gladstone is a painter using watercolors, oils, and acrylics to express herself. Others work in a variety of mediums, including stone carving, jewelry making, and glass blowing. However, none of this would have been possible if not for a man who has his own passion for preserving history, which is why Doug Brock purchased the property in 1985 and then fought to restore it.
A restoration architect that I retained advised me to tear it down. He said it couldn't be saved because there were major problems. But what I did, instead of listening to that advice, I found a small carpentry firm. It was really two individuals who had specialized for years and years in repairing barns. And their expertise was perfect for the yellow sawmill on this property that was built in about 1860.
Although this building has a long history, it's not the original one on the property. The first sawmill was built in 1825 by the Williams family, and a second structure, which was the flour mill, followed not long after. Those businesses lasted until 1890, when a fire burned the flour mill to the ground. When it was rebuilt, a flume to channel water from the Credit River to a water wheel was included, so the new Georgetown Electric Light and Power Company could provide electricity, a first for the community.
But it was not a continuous electricity. It was run, it was generated here, and we had somebody on duty, and so the hours would change in the wintertime, but in the summertime, had very limited hours. Certain time in the morning it turned on, and a certain time in the evening after supper it turned off.
At about the same time, the original sawmill was converted into a hosiery factory to make wool socks. In 1926, everything was sold to a company that processed apples, which continued until 1984, when it was bought by a competitor. The buildings were in rough shape when Brock purchased the property in 1985 and with help began restoration.
They set about doing some repairs to deal with rot that had set in because the roof hadn't been maintained. And by the way, there wasn't any heat in the building, there wasn't a stick of insulation, and 90% of the windows were covered over with plywood. Some of them existed, but most of them were gone. And there was a situation on the main floor where the old wood floor had a concrete floor poured on top of the wood floor, which was very problematic.
Now the original wood floor is visible once again in the yellow mill, along with charred timbers from the fire of 1890. And although the hole is covered up, the outline of its shape is still apparent. This is where the penstock pipe that fed water to the wheel that produced electricity once turned. On the other side of the property is a building that houses kilns that glassblowers use to make their artistic creations. Some of the structural timbers have also been left exposed in the areas that have been home to dozens of artists since the mid-1990s, including Gladstone, who first moved into the space next door in 2018.
Creatively and for my growth as an artist, the move to the mill has been phenomenal. Being in a creative environment surrounded by other artists is inspirational, great for guidance and support.
She says that it's also beneficial for visitors who get to immerse themselves in a cultural experience that's the perfect harmony between art and culture from the perspective of architecture. And with this combination of history and modernization, the Williams property lives on with new purpose. Jason Trout for Halton News in Glen Williams.